Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Today, we're going to talk about AEW fans going to run off MJF. I can see it coming. So let's go back in time. Why am I doing this video? Let's go back in time. A couple of weeks, late February 2024, the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards come out. MJF versus the Devil is voted the worst feud of the year. Tony Khan loses his coveted Booker of the Year to Triple H. TV ratings have stagnated and plummeted. The ticket sales for AEW television shows have stagnated and plummeted. AEW fans are in a panic. They don't know what to do. They start lashing out. The one person they blame for all of this was MJF. Now here it is, mid-March 2024. Things are looking up. Okada's come in, Ospreay's come in, Mercedes Moné's come in, and they're still blaming MJF for tanking the 2023. And some of them have even gone to saying that the TV is better off without him. So we're going to go through some of the takes that I've seen, and I purposefully waited a little while to see if this thing would just be, okay, everybody's just having a knee-jerk reaction to the Meltzer Awards. But no. It's been pretty consistent that people are not thrilled with MJF, has not been thrilled with his performances, and generally speaking, don't like him. It's a shame, but here is one of the takes. Do you genuinely believe guys like Punk or Joe saw the sheer amount of embarrassing bullshit Max got away with as champ and said, yeah, he's the next guy on my level? Punk won his first major title off the back of the best story in the industry. Joe's title reign was the entire reason Ring of Honor got off the ground and survived the RF Tapes debacle. MJF took a hot promotion and turned it cold. I'm not very tapped into week-to-week wrestling from before my time, but I can't immediately think of another reign that tanked as much goodwill as Max's. Even if there was a worse champion in Jericho, Max's reign was easily the most actively harmful to people's perceptions around AEW. Now, that was about 3 or 4 tweets from the same person, which is why I read it all at one time. But that's generally an accepted idea scatterbrained around the internet, is that MJF and being the champion completely destroyed the perception of AEW as an alternative to WWE. Mostly because MJF was doing skits. He was also doing long promos in the ring. They was doing a lot of outside the ring stuff during MJF's championship run. And they don't like it. They don't like this guy. They don't like all the video packages and all the off-screen stuff, even though it was drawing viewers. Which is the interesting bit, is that the last time AEW really popped ratings was when Adam Cole and MJF was doing their storyline with the brochachos and everything. And we all talked about how corny it was and how it was, it wasn't very good. But at least it was something. It was something that was building week after week. There was a mystery to it. It was kind of an obvious mystery, but there was a mystery to it. There was something going on there and people were into it. The AEW fans weren't, apparently. Well, maybe retroactively they aren't. Because now they see that MJF is the guy who should have been considered most overrated. Here's a different one. How did Sonata win most overrated when MJF was a very big part in the detriment to the quality and perception of AEW as a whole? I don't know. Maybe it's because Sonata was the top guy in New Japan. And these people have really high opinions of New Japan. But I also have a different conception of most overrated. To me, nobody could be most overrated unless you really considered them highly. And who the hell was considering Sonata very highly? I was always one of the people who said that, yay, you were a little late on giving the belt to Sonata. You probably should have given it to him years ago. But whatever. New Japan's falling apart anyway, so who cares? Let's move on to this one. It's insane how much MJF hurt his reputation in the last few months. Dude went from undisputed face of the company to a complete liability. The show has improved so much without him, and with Okada and Ospreay coming in, his main event spot might be in jeopardy. This is not from February, by the way. This is from a couple of days ago. All right. So people are continuously attacking MJF. I couldn't go through this thing. We'd be here all day. I just went and picked some of the choicier spots of people attacking MJF. Here's another one. This is from March 11th. Midwell jukebox fraud man was always bad. We just didn't realize it because he was always feuding with far superior wrestlers, be it Kenny, Mox, or Punk. The moment that Bryan feud ended, he got exposed for the fraud he was. So, it's as the hood rats say, it's giving Cody Rhodes all over again. I know sometimes you guys see on the internet, maybe WWE fans or maybe people who didn't pay attention to AEW, they're seeing Cody Rhodes videos. There's one on the internet right now that's showing that Cody throwing his belt into the crowd at AEW. He's being booed and they threw the belt back and the guy gets cheered for throwing the belt back. And they're like, what's going on here? Why was this happening? And most people did not have an answer to that question. They don't know why it was happening. It's just that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they decided they hated Cody Rhodes. And then Cody left and became the biggest star in WWE. They did the same thing to CM Punk. Now, at least CM Punk, you can actually, there was a reason. He got into it with the Elite. He was seen as a threat to the system of AEW, the friendships that were built there, everybody who was the buddy of somebody else. And, when you're an outsider trying to get on the inside of this system and have a different vision, I see how people, attack you. And maybe that was it with Cody too. But the unbridled hatred of Cody Rhodes in the Codyverse, as if anything has changed, even though WWE is just thriving off the Codyverse, where they're doing the exact same thing. The Rock is spending 20 minutes a week talking about Cody Rhodes. It's not affecting Cody at all. Now, it might over time, but as of right now, Cody Rhodes is the talk of the world, because now he's feuding with The Rock. The same guys that you didn't think was good enough to be on your TV show that you hated is now feuding with The Rock. And you have to sit and take it because this is what but they're going to do the same thing to MJF. That's what it's looking like. Let's continue. This is from March 14th. MJF's title run killed the territory. This is after the ratings for Big Business came out. And remember, they spent weeks talking about Mercedes Moné and how she was going to pump the ratings up. The ratings came out. They were like 801,000 viewers. Everybody giggled. Then they had to factor in the overrun. It came back as like 790 something. So even lower. Now everybody's blaming MJF. It's MJF's fault that the ratings went down. He killed the territory. Nobody wants to watch AEW anymore because MJF was so bad. I'm pretty sure it got nothing to do with what was on that show, of course. That show sucked. Let's go back a couple of weeks to February. MJF's 2023 has to be one of the most catastrophic years on top of a major wrestling promotion in decades. Since Diesel, one of the biggest stars in the company and the world champ, to ending the year as a joke. And most people agreeing the TV is better without him. And that's just what he did to him personally. It destroyed the perception of the company as an alternative. Something they're still trying to recover from. So you got AEW fans comparing MJF to Diesel. And you know what? Maybe it's similar. If you all remember Diesel, now most of you guys are not old enough to have really lived through the Diesel days. When Diesel was a WWF champion, there was nothing wrong, particularly with Kevin Nash. All right. I was fine with him. The crowd liked him in 94 when he was, with Shawn Michaels and everything. It was all great. He won the title in late 94, was champion for most, if not all, of 95 until November. So people were behind Diesel, but the feuds lacked. He was not given a lot of good material to work with. He was beating guys like, Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett on television. He was wrestling the British Bulldog on TV. There was a time there where he was doing tag team stuff with Shawn Michaels. So you see a lot of the parallels, especially the Diesel, Shawn Michaels tag team part that was like right in the middle of Diesel's run. And you could compare that to MJF and Adam Cole right in the middle of MJF's run there. So I agree. to an extent, of course. I don't think that MJF tanked the company. I think that it was just poorly booked. He had some really good opponents. He had Kenny Omega. They didn't turn that into a feud. Instead, they threw it away on Collision. He had Bryan Danielson. He was doing good stuff there. There was other people on the roster he could have feuded with. And if given time and an opportunity, he could have made it work. But they decided not to do that. And so, like Kevin Nash, he got the perception of he was just a shitty champion, when in reality, it was shitty booking. Even if the guy performing wasn't that great, which Nash was fine, but he was just fine. He wasn't exceptional. MJF is exceptional, but you put him in terrible situations. He's a babyface sometimes, he's a heel sometimes. We're back and forth on this thing. Then you had Adam Cole, and then you had Roderick Strong, and there was a bunch of other stuff going on. The devil thing went on forever. Adam Cole got injured. Stuff happens. All right? But the comparison between MJF and Diesel, I see it. It's not as ridiculous as people are making it out to be. Let's get back to some of the criticisms of MJF. It says, as someone who swore for years that he sucked and was a fraud, it was immensely gratifying to see him get every possible institutional advantage and do worse and worse every time. Feels in retrospect like something like that had to happen. And then one of the responses was the lights were too bright for MJF. So they're not feeling it. Voices of Wrestling, the Voices of Wrestling guy, he tweets this. I'm very interested to see how things work when MJF comes back. The whole restore the feeling stuff only felt real once he was gone. How does he slot back into the picture? This was in February of 2024. So, how does MJF, one of your top guys, one of your most over guys, a guy who was drawing viewers, a guy who, TV tanked since he's been gone, and that's actually been something that I haven't seen anybody mention, is that these shows actually started doing much, much worse since MJF left. But the fans like it more when there's fewer people watching and there's fewer people in the stands. For some reason, they like it more. But you see that these people are now saying, where does MJF fit when you have Okada and Ospreay on the roster? Where does he fit? Like, what do you mean, where does he fit? If you're really a top guy, you fit in anywhere. All right. If you're really a top guy, they will make room. All right. Are you thinking that somehow MJF is going to be slotted behind Okada when MJF can talk? Okada is better than I thought he was. Ospreay, better at talking than I thought he was too. But when it comes to mixing athletics and storytelling, they're behind MJF. I know that's probably going to be a shock to some people. How can you say that? They have so many 5-star matches. Nobody really is going to give a fuck about Will Ospreay and Okada. All right. I promise you that. Okay. So they're behind MJF, objectively. He should take primacy over both of those guys. He can feud with both of them and they can draw money together. That's what you should be thinking about when you say, where does he fit in this storyline? Like, where is he going to be? Like, clearly he's a top guy, and probably should be the top guy. Maybe he shouldn't be up there all by his lonesome, trying to carry this entire company by himself like he was last year, meaning 2023. But he's certainly not a guy sitting on the bench. You definitely can't do him like you did Ricky Starks. You just can't happen. You can't have it. So here is the last one I want to discuss. MJF might be better off in WWE, which I think is a classic AEW fan mentality. Just get rid of him. There's a lot of people now. There's a part of this whole thing that you have to take into account too. The belief that MJF's character was a little edgelordy, that MJF went over the line quite a bit. There was a video of his promo on Konosuke Takeshita where he called him take a shitta, and everybody claimed that was racist and that, the MJF character was too edgelordy. He was trying too hard, which of course he was. But they're saying now that, he's a racist and the character was racist. And a lot of this stuff ties into him being Jewish and the very virulent anti-Israel stuff that you have on the internet. So always take that into account too. There's some genuine criticisms to be had, but also take into account that a lot of people don't like the fact that he's openly Jewish or loud and proud Jewish. And he has come across and said many things that has been abrasive to people who are of the pro-Palestinian take on the internet. And those people, they have a lot of sway. They have a lot of opinions. And that's been going on for a while. But let's take that into account. But the idea that he might be better off in WWE. MJF grew up in New York. He grew up a fan of the WWF product. The bidding war of 2024 was something they talked about quite a bit. It was something that everybody thought was going to occur, and maybe they're going to do some kind of Summer Punk style story. But then he got hurt, and he's been dead quiet ever since. They don't even talk about him anymore, really. In fact, he kind of got Voldemorted a little bit on the Big Business show when he did Wardlow's storyline. I don't think they mentioned his name at all. They showed pictures of him, of course, but I don't think they mentioned his name at all. MJF has been a headache for Tony Khan. Remember, he went on television and called him Tony Khan a fucking mark. And then he, basically held the company up for tons of money. And then when he was brought back, CM Punk was fired, and it was all left to MJF. Carry the company by yourself. Do what you can. Do what you must. And then he tried. And then you saddled him with Sammy Guevara and Jack Perry and, Adam Cole. And, then Adam Cole got hurt. And then a bunch of other stuff happened. Would he be better off in WWE? I think, ultimately, maybe that's the end goal for him, is to make as much money as possible. Maybe AEW is the right place. Maybe WWE is the right place. But it seems like it's a recurring thing that with AEW, when they get tired of somebody, the idea is to just kick them. Just kick them all to WWE. I've been talking about this on this channel for a bit. How they want to get rid of Miro. They want to get rid of Malachi Black. They wanted to get rid of Andrade for a long time before he finally left. There's guys who are, I guess you could say, fans of WWE. They're not essentially true believers of AEW. And if you're not a true believer, they don't want you there. All right? They want everybody to be in the bubble. You can't say that WWE was an option. You have to prove why you didn't like WWE. That's why they keep asking, Sasha Banks or Sting or Will Ospreay, why didn't you go to WWE? They just want to hear it. Okada, why didn't you go to WWE? Just tell me. Just tell me I'm pretty. Whisper sweet nothings in my ear about better scheduling and more money and how, they give me more creative freedom. That's all I want to hear. It's like, who cares really? Nobody really gives a shit. If you don't care about WWE, you don't watch the product, you don't care about the product, why do you care whether, Will Ospreay wanted to go to WWE or not? Why do you care if Okada wanted to go to WWE or not? Why do you care? I don't think anybody cares. But when you have this perpetual little brother syndrome that AEW has, this insecurity, you just constantly want to be told that you're pretty, constantly want to be told what you do well and what you do better and what advantages you have over the other, then this is good. And part of this is a way of, and I think they did this on television, where CM Punk, who was Mr. AEW at the time, attacked MJF and said, if you want to go to the 2-for-1 WrestleMania giveaway or whatever. And everybody thought that was the best burn in the world at the time. This was 2 or 3 years ago. But when you look at how things have shaken out since then, of course CM Punk went back to WWE. But now they're trying to, the fans are like, well, maybe it'd be better if MJF just left. And I'm saying, would it be better? It would be better for WWE if he left. Would it be better for AEW if he left? And the idea that the feeling is going to be restored by guys like Will Ospreay and Okada, that the television is so much better, even though fewer people are watching it and fewer people are attending the shows. And so AEW would be better off without MJF, and MJF would be better off in WWE. Well, that might be true. But if you're Tony Khan, or if you give a shit about AEW at all, You don't want that to happen. You want MJF to return to AEW, to be given a really strong push, to be given really strong creative and storyline so that he could continue to draw money. And even if you consider his title reign a flop, which you can, you have to understand it wasn't entirely his fault. He wasn't booking himself. He didn't pick his own opponents or when these matches happened. He was just doing the best he can. He was trying to make the most of it. And he did a pretty good job in terms of keeping people engaged with the product. Things went too long, which of course happens. People got hurt. That kind of stuff happens. But just because he had a bad run at that time, and it was only, again, the later part of the run, isn't reason to give up on the guy completely. It's not a reason to run him off. So, unless you want WWE to have an even better 2024, I would suggest that you guys stop attacking MJF over dumb shit and actually just learn to accept that he's a little bit different. He's not just going to be a work rate guy who's going to come out there and work 30-minute matches and disappear. That's not what the casual fans want. That's not what he wants. That's not what helps the company. The company is helped when MJF has something to sink his teeth into and when his storylines have some level of primacy. So AEW is better off with MJF in it. AEW a couple of years ago, they had this concept called the 4 pillars. I'm recording this video on March the 16th. So which one of the 4 pillars is on television? March 16th, 2024. If the answer is 0, you are correct. Darby Allin's broken foot, and he was going to climb Mount Everest anyway, so he wasn't going to be there. Sammy Guevara got suspended for kneeing Jeff Hardy in the head. He's gone for who knows how long. Jack Perry is fucking around in Japan, which is just terrible for Japan, by the way. So, and MJF is injured. So, you noted that these guys were going to be the pillars of AEW. They were going to be your main guys going forward, your young guys that you were going to build the company around. And you let in the fan base destroy the only one of them that has proven to draw any fucking money and can actually get people to watch your show, to get people to buy merchandise, to get people to come in the building. And you're going to let the fans run him off? That would be dumb if you're Tony Khan. Don't listen to the fans. Keep MJF in the house. Keep him there. Utilize him better. Give him better opponents. Give him storylines. Let him do what he does. And the television and everything else will fall in line, and you will be better off for it. All right. Thank you, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.